On a bright day in a big city, there was a judge named Marcus Adifier. He was known as a man of high integrity, working justly and wisely in the courtroom. As a devout Christian judge, Marcus led a simple yet meaningful life. He deeply believed in the values of truth, justice, and respect for all religions. However, his life would drastically change when he had to handle a case that not only challenged his beliefs but also shattered his views on religion and justice. The case began when a Muslim imam named Sheikh Abdul Rahman was accused of immoral acts and disturbing the public. The accusation surfaced after a video taken at a religious event held at a local mosque spread widely on social media. In the video, Sheikh Abdul Rahman was seen speaking passionately in front of the congregation, but in an instant, people began spreading the story that he was inciting violence against non-Muslims. The video, though clearly taken from an unclear angle, spread quickly and caused a commotion in the city. Sheikh Abdul Rahman was soon arrested on the charges, despite his firm denial and claim that he was being defamed. The case became highly sensitive because it involved a religious figure, and therefore, it was assigned to Marcus Adifier to handle the trial. When the first trial began, Marcus felt immense tension. The courtroom was packed with spectators, most of them Muslims who had come to support their imam. There were also some people who came with different intentions, either to escalate the tension or simply seek sensationalism. Marcus, despite coming from a Christian background, tried to maintain professionalism in carrying out his duties. As a fair judge, he listened carefully to all the arguments presented by both sides. Witnesses from the accuser's side took the stand one by one, presenting what they considered strong evidence for the accusations. However, Marcus began to feel that something was wrong. As he listened to the testimonies from the accusers, he realized that they were not providing clear evidence. All the testimonies were vague and highly dependent on personal interpretation. One witness even admitted that they didn't actually know what had happened in the video but had only heard stories from others. Marcus felt this was increasingly dubious. Then, when it was Sheikh Abdul Rahman's turn to defend himself, Marcus saw an extraordinary calmness in the imam. Abdul Rahman stood with great dignity, looking at the court, and spoke calmly. "Your Honor," said Sheikh Abdul Rahman, "I am being judged for a false accusation. I have dedicated my life to spreading peace, unity, and love. I pray that the truth may be revealed, and I ask you to judge this with a clear heart." Marcus listened carefully to every word Sheikh Abdul Rahman spoke. There was an honest sincerity in his voice, which made Marcus begin to feel that something was wrong with this case. Every word the imam spoke seemed to challenge his beliefs about the truth he had always followed. After the first trial, Marcus was shaken. He began to investigate further into the video that formed the basis of the accusations against Sheikh Abdul Rahman. He decided to look into the case more deeply, beyond what had been presented in the courtroom. Marcus sought help from several technology experts to analyze the video. After a thorough investigation, it was discovered that the video had been manipulated in a very sophisticated way. Several clips from different moments were taken and combined to create a misleading impression. Furthermore, it was found that many of the witnesses who testified against Abdul Rahman had not been at the scene of the event or even knew the imam personally. Marcus became more convinced that Sheikh Abdul Rahman was the victim of a conspiracy. He began to rethink his beliefs about justice. What he had always considered true seemed to crumble before his eyes. At night, Marcus was awake and pondering deeply. He remembered a verse from the Bible that was often taught to children at church, which said, "If you see someone fall, will you help them? Or will you leave them to suffer?" However, this time he felt that another voice in his heart asked, "Will you help someone who has fallen if that person is of a different religion? Or will you just leave them?" Marcus then recalled that as a judge, he had a responsibility to uphold the truth, regardless of someone's religion, race, or background. In the second trial, Marcus decided to present the evidence found during his investigation. He opened all the video analysis results and read the report from a technology expert showing that the video had been manipulated. Marcus also revealed that many of the witnesses who gave testimony against Imam Abdul Rahman were actually involved in spreading falsehoods. Your Honor, Marcus said to the audience, with the evidence available, I decide that Imam Abdul Rahman is not guilty of the charges against him. These charges are not only baseless but are also slander that tarnishes the reputation of an innocent man. This decision shocked many in the courtroom. Some people appeared angry, while others, especially the Muslim congregation present, felt greatly relieved. Sheikh Abdul Rahman stood up with gratitude and smiled at Marcus. After the trial ended, Marcus approached Sheikh Abdul Rahman outside the courtroom. The Imam spoke softly, Thank you, Your Honor. You have upheld justice. May Allah bless you. 3 weeks after the decision, Marcus began to feel uneasy again. His heart could not stop being moved by the goodness he saw in Imam Abdul Rahman and his followers. The sincerity and peace they brought into his life made him reflect more deeply on the meaning of life and faith. One night, after reflecting for a long time, Marcus went to a mosque to speak with Sheikh Abdul Rahman. He wanted to understand more deeply about the teachings of Islam. In their conversation, Abdul Rahman explained the basic principles of Islam, justice, compassion, and the importance of maintaining peace among humanity. Marcus felt something very profound in these teachings. He felt that Islam offered a way of life full of compassion and respect for others. 3 months later, Marcus, now better known by the name Muhammad Adifir, decided to embrace Islam. This decision shocked many people, including his close friends. However, Marcus felt that this was the path that had been shown to him. He felt more at peace, closer to the truth, and more certain that his life now had a greater purpose. After converting to Islam, Marcus, or now known as Muhammad, continued his career as a judge, but this time with a broader perspective. He continued to fight for justice for all people, regardless of religion or background, and he remained a model of integrity for many people around him. The life story of Muhammad Adifir, a Christian judge who embraced Islam, became an inspiration to many. He showed that in the search for truth, sometimes we must tear down the walls within ourselves and open our hearts to embrace something greater than just narrow beliefs. From a devout Christian judge to a humble Muslim, Muhammad's life journey teaches us that justice, compassion, and truth are universal principles that can be found in all religions. After a life-changing decision, Muhammad Adifir, a former judge who has now embraced Islam, felt a new calling in his life. As someone who had long upheld the values of justice, he felt that the next step was to share his knowledge of life and his beliefs with others. Although he had previously worked as a judge with integrity and fairness, his heart was now driven to play a role in guiding and teaching others, especially in understanding the religious teachings he now believed in. Since deciding to embrace Islam, Muhammad felt that his life was not just about going through the daily routine of work, but about making a larger contribution to society. As a judge, he had learned a lot about truth, justice, and how the law shapes lives. However, he also realized that there was a deeper aspect of life that could not be solved by law alone, but by a deeper spiritual understanding. Religion, for Muhammad, had given him the peace he had been searching for all along, and he wanted to share that peace with others. One quiet evening, Muhammad sat reflecting in his office. He thought back to how his journey began, from a judge who was skeptical of certain religious teachings to eventually finding a new path in Islam. He recalled the early days after converting to Islam, when he learned about prayer, fasting, and the basic concepts of faith. Each of these teachings gave him peace and a new sense of certainty about life, and he was very eager to share that understanding. What I have learned should help more people, he thought. Why not become a religious teacher? Muhammad began to take steps in this new direction. He decided to leave his profession as a judge and prepare himself to become a religious teacher. He realized that in order to be a good religious teacher, he needed to deepen his knowledge even further. Therefore, he decided to pursue education at an Islamic university. For several years, Muhammad studied the field of Islamic religion. He studied the interpretation of the Qur'an, Hadith, Fiqh, Islamic law, and the history of Islam. Not only that, but he also began to study the teachings of other religions to gain a deeper understanding of diversity and how to live in peace with others. This process was not easy, as he had to face many challenges and doubts, especially from some of his friends who had once known him as a Christian judge. However, with strong determination, Muhammad never gave up. He continued to learn and develop his knowledge until he finally felt ready to teach others. In the 3rd year after he decided to become a religious teacher, Muhammad began teaching at a Pazantran, Islamic boarding school. The Pazantran was known for educating students in both religious knowledge and everyday life. Although he was not from the same religious background as most of the students at the Pazantran, Muhammad felt welcomed with open arms. The first group of students he taught was a group of young people eager to understand Islam more deeply. They came from various backgrounds, some with prior knowledge of religion, and others just starting out. In a simple classroom, Muhammad began to speak about the meaning of faith, about how Islam teaches living with love, and how one must prioritize justice in every aspect of life. Religion is not just about ritual worship, Muhammad said on one occasion in class. Religion is about how we can live better, how we can maintain relationships with others, and with God. The students listened attentively. They felt the warmth in every word Muhammad spoke. He spoke with conviction, not just as a teacher, but as someone who had undergone a long journey searching for truth and peace. Not long after becoming a religious teacher, Muhammad also began to actively hold interfaith discussions and dialogues. As someone who had previously embraced Christianity, he felt he had the ability to bridge the differences between religious communities. He realized that many people still misunderstood Islam, just as he once did. Therefore, he was determined to create a space for healthy discussions, where people could understand and appreciate each other. On several occasions, Muhammad invited religious leaders from various backgrounds to discuss universal values present in every religion, such as love, peace, and justice. These discussions became increasingly popular, as people felt the need to get to know and respect one another. "I believe," said Muhammad in an interfaith dialogue forum, "that every religion has teachings that lead to peace. We need to listen to each other and understand, not judge or ridicule." Through these activities, Muhammad began to be known as someone who not only taught Islam but also as a figure who appreciated diversity and promoted peace between religious communities. Many people felt more open and understood Islam better, thanks to Muhammad's clear and compassionate explanations. However, Muhammad's journey as a religious teacher was not always smooth. He faced many challenges, especially when dealing with skepticism from those who did not understand the changes that had occurred in his life. Some old friends still found it difficult to accept the reality that he had left his profession as a judge and embraced a different religion. Some even considered him to have been influenced by a particular ideology. However, Muhammad remained undaunted. He believed that everyone had the right to choose their own path in life, and he never regretted his decision. "My decision to embrace Islam was not due to pressure from others, but because I found peace and the truth in my heart," he said firmly. As time went on, Muhammad Adifir became increasingly known as a wise and compassionate religious teacher. He taught at the Pazantran and other places, providing deep insights into religion and life. Every time he spoke in front of a class or during public discussions, he always conveyed messages about the importance of maintaining peace, justice, and unity among mankind. In the end, Muhammad left behind a valuable legacy. He was not only known as a wise religious teacher but also as a figure who proved that change is possible, that one can find the truth through a spiritual journey, and that any religion should be a source of peace and goodness for all of humanity. The life story of Muhammad Adifir, a judge who became a religious teacher, inspired many people. His journey showed that a person's beliefs can evolve and change, and that true truth knows no boundaries of religion or background. He became a symbol for many people seeking peace and enlightenment in their lives, and a living example that every step in life, despite the challenges, can lead someone to a better path. After a long journey as a judge, religious teacher, and interfaith bridge builder, Muhammad ultimately found true peace, which he shared with many people who came to learn from his life. After transforming into a Muslim and dedicating his life to teaching religious values, Muhammad Adifir, formerly known as Marcus Adifir, felt a new calling in his life. He wanted to become more involved in the community, make a direct contribution to society, and be a part of the daily lives of Muslims. However, Muhammad's challenging journey did not stop there. On a meaningful day, fate brought him back together with Imam Abdul Rahman, a figure who had once been the center of attention in the courtroom he used to handle. But this time, their meeting wasn't about a defamation case, it was an opportunity to work together in building something greater, a mosque that would not only be a place of worship but also a center for social and educational activities. After the life-changing decision he made in the courtroom, Muhammad felt a deep connection to Imam Abdul Rahman. Over time, the two began to communicate more intensively. Sheikh Abdul Rahman, who had originally been a respected figure at the mosque, had now become a wise friend. They often discussed various matters, from Islamic teachings to the role of Muslims in building a better society. One bright morning, while Muhammad was visiting the mosque to join the congregational prayer, Imam Abdul Rahman approached him. "Brother Muhammad," said Imam Abdul Rahman, "I want to talk to you about something important." Muhammad nodded, signaling that he was ready to listen. "Our mosque, although it is already a good place of worship, needs more activities that can help the community outside of prayer times. We want to develop this mosque into a center for Dawah, Islamic outreach, and education, a place where people can learn about religion and also a place for those who need social assistance," continued Imam Abdul Rahman enthusiastically. Muhammad paused for a moment, reflecting. He knew very well how important it was to have a place that could unite the community, teach religious knowledge, and help those in need. He felt this was an opportunity to make a tangible contribution, implement the knowledge he had gained, and do more for the good of the people. "And I want you to join us, to become part of the mosque's management team," Imam Abdul Rahman added, looking at Muhammad seriously. Hearing the offer, Muhammad felt a strong calling in his heart. This was a bigger step, a path that combined his life, filled with values of justice, and his belief as a Muslim who wanted to spread peace and knowledge. He knew that becoming part of the mosque's management wasn't just about overseeing its operations but also about making a direct contribution to the spiritual and social life of the community. After further discussions with his family and friends, Muhammad ultimately accepted the offer and joined the mosque's management team alongside Imam Abdul Rahman. Together, they began to plan various programs for the mosque, which would not only focus on worship but also include educational activities, dawah, and social assistance. In a short time, the mosque, led by Muhammad and Imam Abdul Rahman, began to transform into a dynamic center of activity. They held various programs such as religious classes for children and adults, Quranic exegesis studies, and seminars on interfaith peace. In addition, they also offered counseling services to help families facing social issues, provided aid to those in need, and created a space for those wishing to discuss matters of faith. As a mosque manager, Muhammad took on the task of organizing these activities and also gave lectures and classes on ethics and justice in Islam, drawing from his experience as a judge. He explained how Islamic law was not only about rules but also about mercy and social justice that embraces everyone. On the other hand, Imam Abdul Rahman directed the spiritual activities at the mosque, delivering sermons, leading congregational prayers, and guiding the worshippers in developing a deeper understanding of Islamic teachings. With his gentle and compassionate character, Imam Abdul Rahman was also actively involved in dialogues with the local community, inviting them to understand that Islam is a religion that brings peace and unity. Over time, the mosque, which was once merely a place of worship, has now become a bridge connecting various layers of society, both Muslims and non-Muslims. Muhammad and Imam Abdul Rahman worked together to introduce a friendly and compassionate Dawah, Islamic outreach, program. They invited people from different backgrounds to come and understand Islam more deeply through various activities held at the mosque, ranging from interfaith discussions to skills training for young people in need. One of the most successful programs was the Diversity Dialogue, held every month, where both Muslims and non-Muslims could meet and talk about their religions in a respectful manner. This program became very popular and was attended by many people from various communities, who felt that interfaith dialogue was essential to creating peace. "Diversity is not a barrier for us to live side by side," Muhammad said on one occasion. "We all have the right to live in peace, and Islam teaches us to respect one another." Through his new role as a mosque administrator, the relationship between Muhammad and Imam Abdul Rahman grew even closer. They supported each other in every step taken to develop the mosque. They worked together not only as colleagues in the management team but also as true friends who always supported each other. Whenever there was a problem, whether related to the mosque's operations or challenges in Dawah, they always discussed it calmly and wisely. Muhammad felt very fortunate to have an imam like Abdul Rahman, who always provided guidance with a loving heart. On the other hand, Abdul Rahman greatly appreciated Muhammad, because even though he came from a different background, Muhammad always worked with integrity and sincerity. However, their journey as mosque administrators was not always smooth. At times, they faced challenges from external parties who disagreed with the programs they were running. Some people were skeptical about the mosque's involvement in social and educational activities, believing that a mosque should only be a place of worship and not a venue for other activities. But with patience and wisdom, Muhammad and Imam Abdul Rahman explained that Islam teaches that a mosque is a place for all forms of goodness, including helping the community and advancing knowledge. The mosque is the house of Allah, said Imam Abdul Rahman in a sermon. And the house of Allah must be open to everyone, to learn, to share, and to help each other. It is a place where we can strengthen each other, both in faith and in daily life. As time passed, the mosque they led continued to grow and became a highly respected community center. Muhammad, who was once known as a judge, was now known as a figure who played a significant role in building a more inclusive and caring Muslim community. Meanwhile, Imam Abdul Rahman remained a spiritual role model, guiding the congregation with love. Their success in building the mosque was not only measured by the many programs they ran but also by the peace created among the worshippers. The mosque became not only a place of worship but also a home for those seeking peace, teachings, and friendship. And although their lives were filled with challenges, Muhammad and Abdul Rahman felt that their journey had successfully brought them closer to a greater noble goal, building a more just, peaceful, and loving world. The story of Muhammad Adifir and Imam Abdul Rahman is a real example of how life can change through experience and spiritual discovery. From a judge who carried out his duties based on the law to becoming a mosque administrator focused on love and social justice, their journey shows that every step in life, though filled with change and challenges, can lead one to greater goodness, both for oneself and for others. After a few years of living a new life as a mosque administrator and religious teacher, Muhammad Adifir felt that his life was becoming more complete. However, there was one thing he hadn't seriously thought about: family and love. While he felt at peace with his role as a mosque administrator and educator, his heart still longed for someone to accompany him on this journey of life. One day, while he was teaching a tafsir class at the mosque, a new woman appeared among the congregation. Her name was Asya, a religious teacher at an Islamic school in the city. Asya was known as an intelligent, compassionate, and highly dedicated woman who loved teaching children. Her gentle yet firm personality, combined with her passion for religious knowledge, made her greatly respected by many. Asya came to the mosque to attend the weekly study session. Initially, Muhammad saw her as just another active congregant, but over time, he began to pay more serious attention to Asya. Every time he taught, Asya was always present, listening intently, and often asking insightful questions, which made Muhammad even more intrigued. After several interactions in the religious study sessions, Muhammad felt that Asya was a very inspiring person. They began to talk more often, especially about topics related to religion and life. Asya always admired the way Muhammad spoke with wisdom and compassion, as well as his ability to reconcile various viewpoints and beliefs. But it wasn't just her intelligence that drew Muhammad to Asya. He also felt a sense of compatibility in their views on life, religion, and the importance of education in society. Asya, who had been teaching children at school for a long time, shared Muhammad's view on the importance of creating a peaceful and loving environment, not only in religious teachings but also in everyday life. As time went on, their closeness grew stronger. Asya often visited the mosque to assist with educational programs held there, and on every occasion, they would talk more deeply, not only about religion but also about their individual visions of life. One calm afternoon, after the study session ended, Muhammad invited Asia to sit with him outside the mosque. The beautiful sunset sky added to the tranquil atmosphere, and they began to have a deeper conversation about their life journeys. Asia, Muhammad said softly, I feel so inspired by the way you teach and interact with children. You have an incredible way of conveying knowledge and love. You teach them not only about religion but also about the importance of living with integrity and love. Asia smiled, feeling flattered, but she also sensed that there was something deeper in Muhammad's words. Thank you, Muhammad. I always try to teach them the values I believe in, and I know that every child deserves love and the best education. But I've also learned so much from you about how we can combine knowledge and love in every step of our lives. The two of them felt a deep connection in many ways. They started spending more time together, talking about various topics, sharing life experiences, and learning from each other. Asia, who had once been just an ordinary teacher at school, now saw Muhammad as someone who had a significant influence on her life. Meanwhile, Muhammad also felt a deeper bond, something that made his heart feel more at peace, more complete. One day, after months of growing closer, Muhammad decided to speak to Asia about the feelings he had kept hidden all this time. On a night full of wisdom, as they sat in the mosque yard, Muhammad expressed his feelings sincerely. Asia, since the first time we interacted, I've felt a peace that comes when I'm near you. I admire your intelligence, dedication, and the way you love what you do. I'm beginning to feel that life is more beautiful with you in it. I want to share this journey of life with you. Will you be my companion in life? Asia paused for a moment, feeling the warmth and sincerity in Muhammad's words. She felt deeply respected and valued by the man who had now become not just a friend, but her true partner in their shared mission. I feel the same way, Muhammad, Asia replied softly, yet with full conviction. I've always felt that life becomes more meaningful when we can share it with someone who is in alignment with us. I want to walk this journey with you, with love and devotion. After talking and discussing many things, including their commitment to religion and life goals, Muhammad and Asia finally decided to get married. They held a simple wedding at the mosque, in the presence of family, friends, and the congregation who had witnessed their life journeys. Their wedding was not just a celebration, but a symbol of two life journeys meeting at the same point, the journey toward deeper happiness, not only in worldly life but also in seeking Allah's pleasure. Imam Abdul Rahman, who had been a witness to their journey from the beginning, delivered a meaningful wedding sermon, reminding them that marriage is a sacred bond, one that must be nurtured with love, mutual understanding, and devotion to Allah. Marriage is not just about two hearts uniting, Imam Abdul Rahman said in his sermon. It is also about how two souls strengthen each other in truth, patience, and love. May you both become a couple that supports each other, just as Prophet Muhammad and Khadija exemplified. After the wedding, Muhammad and Asia began their new life as a couple, committed not only to each other but also to their surrounding community. Together, they developed more social and educational programs at the mosque, opening more classes for children and teenagers, and organizing various activities to improve the quality of life for the Muslim community. Asia, with her background as a teacher, became more involved in education at the mosque, teaching the Qur'an and Hadith to children and women. Meanwhile, Muhammad, with his experience and knowledge, continued to deepen the community's understanding of justice, peace, and unity in Islam. They worked side by side to create a more inclusive and loving environment. In their journey through life, filled with both challenges and joy, Muhammad and Asia proved that love based on faith and loyalty can bring peace. They became not only a couple that supported each other personally but also an example for many people on how to live in harmony, combining faith with social activities, and sharing goodness with others. Their love became a symbol that, with Allah as the center of every decision, marriage is a journey that is not only based on personal compatibility but also on a life mission to benefit others. Together, they continue to be role models for those around them, teaching that a meaningful life can be created when we seek goodness together in both religion and daily life. After getting married, the life of Muhammad and Asia Adifir, formerly known as Marcus Adifir, was filled with happiness. They both felt as if they had found perfect peace and joy in the sacred bond of their marriage. They were not only a loving couple but also a pair that strengthened each other in their devotion to Allah, family, and society. Their life was not only filled with laughter and togetherness but also with a spirit of sharing love and kindness with those around them. After going through a long journey full of challenges, they finally reaped the fruits of their sincerity and deep faith. Their story is proof that true happiness is not about what one has, but about how one lives life with gratitude and love. As a couple with an important role in the mosque, their life was never far from religious and social activities. However, despite being busy with various programs of preaching, education, and community service, they always managed to find a balance between work, family, and personal life. They learned to give each other space, understanding that although both were very dedicated to their duties, time with family was invaluable. Muhammad, who was once known as a judge full of responsibility and firmness, had now become a loving husband, supporting his wife in every step of their life. He always tried to make time for his wife, whether it was for casual conversations, sharing stories, or attending family events. Asia, with her intelligence and dedication as a teacher, always gave her full attention to her husband. She understood that their life was not just about carrying out daily tasks but also about maintaining harmony in their household. She made their home a place filled with warmth, happiness, and a spirit of continuous learning. They often spent their evenings after prayer together, sitting on the porch of their home, talking about various things, from family matters to religious topics they were exploring. Their conversations were deep but also sprinkled with laughter and light humor. This was one way they kept their relationship alive and full of energy. As a couple deeply involved in the mosque community, Muhammad and Asia felt that their happiness was more complete when they could make a positive impact on others. Together, they developed various social programs that helped the less fortunate and provided a space for young people to learn and grow. One of the programs they were most proud of was the skills class for teenagers held at the mosque. Asia, as a dedicated teacher, taught life skills such as making crafts, cooking, and other practical skills useful in daily life. Muhammad, with his strong background in organization, often helped arrange events and provide logistical support for these activities. Seeing the smiles and gratitude on the faces of young people who had mastered new skills made both of them feel that their lives were filled with a greater purpose. They often talked about how they wanted to have a positive influence on the next generation and set an example that true happiness comes from giving, not just receiving. The married life of Muhammad and Asia was never without sincere affection. Although they were both busy with their work at the mosque and social activities, they always made time for each other, striving to keep their bond strong. They learned that even though their lives were full of responsibilities, love and attention to one another were the foundation that made everything feel meaningful. One afternoon, as they sat together in their living room, Muhammad said to Asia, "I feel so blessed to have you by my side, Asia. Our life full of happiness is the greatest gift in my life. I know we will still face many challenges, but I believe we can go through them together." Asia looked at him with a gentle smile. "I feel the same, Muhammad. Life is not always easy, but I know that with Allah at the center of our lives, everything will be easier to face. We just need to stay together, support each other, and keep sharing love." With a deep sense of gratitude, they both prayed together, asking Allah to give them the strength to continue striving, to keep serving Him, and to always maintain happiness and harmony in their household. As time passed, this couple continued to shape their life with joy. They planned their future together, hoping to continue their journey of making a positive impact on society, while also maintaining the bond of love and affection that had grown so strong. They often talked about how they wanted to raise a loving family, if Allah allowed them to have children one day. They both were very aware that education and religious values were the most important things they could give to their children. Asia often said, "Children are a great trust, and we must give them love and guidance so they grow into individuals full of compassion and understanding." Muhammad, with his experience and wisdom, always reminded Asia that being parents was not just about providing what their children needed, but also about educating them to become people who would benefit society and the world. They both deeply hoped they could create a home filled with love, faith, and happiness. The life of Muhammad and Asia is a perfect example of how true happiness does not only come from personal achievements but also from devotion to Allah and to others. They have shown that sincere love, mutual understanding, and commitment to building a life full of affection and kindness are the most important things in life. They have proven that with strong faith, a spirit of sharing, and supporting each other through life's journey, true happiness can be achieved. They are not just a couple living happily in marriage, but also a couple who makes a positive impact on others, creating a better world through education, preaching, and the social activities they pursue together. For Muhammad and Asia, their life is a journey full of blessings, happiness, and devotion, and they feel very blessed to live this life together. They know that true happiness comes when they strive to give the best for others, with sincere love and unwavering faith. After several years of living together, Muhammad and Asia's happiness was complete with the arrival of their children. Both of them felt that the greatest blessing in their lives was having children who were not only healthy and cheerful but also had good morals, full of love, and deeply devoted to their faith. Their life as parents was a journey filled with joy, sacrifice, and, of course, challenges. However, both of them felt incredibly blessed to be able to raise righteous children who became a source of pride and happiness for them. Ali was their first child, a boy born with a cheerful face and full of enthusiasm. Since he was a child, Ali showed signs of extraordinary intelligence and curiosity. Muhammad and Asia were very proud of Ali's desire to learn, especially about religion. Ali was not only smart in his school subjects, but also very enthusiastic about attending religious lessons taught by his parents. Ali was always respectful to his parents, teachers, and others. He showed good habits, such as diligently worshipping, helping with household chores, and always paying attention to his younger siblings. One afternoon, when Ali was 9 years old, he sat with his father in the living room, and Muhammad gave him advice about the importance of maintaining good character. Ali, Muhammad said gently, as a child, you must always maintain your manners, not only in front of others but also when no one is watching. This is what will make you respected and loved by those around you. You must also always remember to maintain your relationship with Allah through prayer and worship. Ali listened attentively and promised to always uphold good character and continue learning to become a better person each day. Fatima was their second child, a gentle and loving girl. Since she was little, Fatima showed a very caring nature towards others. She always wanted to help those in need, both at home and at the mosque. When she was young, she often helped her mother Asia prepare food and take care of her younger siblings. Her kindness and care made her loved by everyone around them. Asia often said that Fatima was the healer of their family's soul. She had a patient attitude and always prioritized love and compassion in her actions. Fatima was not only smart in religious studies but also had a high sense of empathy. She always tried to understand others' feelings and help lighten their burdens. One day, Asia spoke to Fatima about the importance of having patience and sincerity in daily life. Fatima, you have a very good heart. However, remember that patience is the key to every trial in life. Allah loves those who are patient and sincere in facing all challenges. Fatima nodded, looking at her mother with deep gratitude. I will always try to be patient, Mom. I want to help others and bring happiness to them. Hassan, their third child, had a character very similar to his father, Muhammad. He was calm, wise, and often reminded their family to always turn to Allah in every step of life. Although still young, Hassan showed a great interest in religious knowledge. He diligently attended tafsir and hadith classes held at the mosque and often asked his parents about things he did not understand. One day, when Hassan was 11 years old, he sat with his father on the porch and started talking about life. Dad, why should we always remember Allah in everything we do? He asked innocently. Muhammad smiled when he heard the question. Hassan, remembering Allah in everything is how we maintain our relationship with Him. When we remember Him, we feel close to Him, and that brings peace and happiness into our lives. Remember, every step we take, every decision we make, must always be based on His guidance. Hassan pondered. I will try to remember Allah more often, Dad, so I can always be on the right path." Their daily life at home was always filled with happiness, but also with meaningful teaching and education. Both Muhammad and Asia placed great emphasis on the importance of religious education from an early age, and they always encouraged their children to worship together, read the Qur'an, and delve into the hadiths of Prophet Muhammad. Every night, after the Isha prayer, this family would gather to listen to stories about the Prophet's companions and the moral lessons that could be derived from those stories. Muhammad would speak passionately about the courage and determination of the companions, while Asia would provide deeper explanations about the values of faith contained in each story. Their children, Ali, Fatima, and Hassan, not only grew up to be intelligent in their school studies but also had great respect for religion, maintained their worship, and always strived to do good to others. They supported each other in every step of life and became examples for their friends at school and in their community. For Muhammad and Asia, true happiness was not found in material wealth or worldly achievements, but in their success in raising righteous and loving children. They both felt extremely grateful to Allah for giving them the opportunity to be parents and guide their children toward the right path. Every time they saw their children grow into good, obedient individuals, supporting one another, their hearts were filled with pride and happiness. They knew that this was the result of their efforts, the prayers they made, and the love and attention they gave to their children every day. One day, when they were all sitting together at the dinner table, Ali, Fatima, and Hassan expressed their gratitude to their parents. "Thank you, Dad and Mom, for raising us with love and knowledge. We will always strive to be righteous children and be useful to the religion, family, and society." Muhammad and Asia exchanged glances and smiled with happiness. "We are so proud of you," Muhammad said with a loving voice. "May Allah always guide you and grant you happiness in this life." Muhammad and Asia's life with their children is proof that true happiness comes when we strive to give our best in raising and nurturing our family. With sincerity and tireless dedication, they have successfully created a home filled with love, affection, and strong religious values. Their children, Ali, Fatima, and Hassan, grew up to be righteous individuals full of enthusiasm to follow in their parents' footsteps in serving Allah and society. This family is a living example that true happiness comes from a meaningful life, education based on faith, and sincere love between parents and children. Time continued to pass, and the life of Muhammad and Asia, filled with happiness and blessings, went on. They had shared a long journey together, overcoming various challenges and creating many beautiful memories in their lives. With wisdom, love, and a spirit of sharing, they succeeded in building a harmonious family and a better society. However, despite their life being full of happiness, both of them knew that their journey in this world was not without an end. Every day spent together was a gift, but also a reminder that life in this world is temporary, and they must always strive to be the best in the eyes of Allah. One quiet morning, as Muhammad began to age, he felt that his body was no longer as strong as it once was. His health, which had once been excellent, began to decline with the passing of years. Asia, who had always been by his side, noticed these signs with care and affection. Despite this, Muhammad continued to live his days with the same enthusiasm, dedicating himself to the mosque, religious teachings, and helping the community. But one day, in the midst of silence, Muhammad felt that it was time to enter a more peaceful phase of his life. After months of fatigue, he decided to reduce his activities at the mosque and focus more on his family and deeper prayers. Asia, who had always supported him, realized that this change was part of Allah's destiny, which could not be avoided. One quiet night, when the whole family gathered around their home, Muhammad sat in his chair with calmness. Beside him, Asia, ever faithful, sat with their hands tightly clasped together. "Asia, I feel so blessed throughout our journey together," Muhammad said in a soft but meaningful voice. "This life is full of trials and blessings, and I am grateful that we have gone through it together. You are an irreplaceable part of my life, and I find peace in seeing our children grow with good morals." Asia looked at her husband with love and pride. "We have been through so much together, Muhammad. I pray that Allah accepts all our deeds and grants us true peace. I also feel so blessed to be your life partner." That night, in the silence filled with peace, Muhammad Adifir, once a judge known for his firmness and now a wise mosque administrator, closed his eyes for the last time. He left this world peacefully, surrounded by a loving family and filled with prayers. Asia, though deeply saddened, knew that she must continue their life struggle. Though it was hard, Asia remained strong in facing the reality that her husband had passed. She strengthened herself with prayers and the belief that Muhammad had left behind a very valuable legacy, not just in the form of knowledge and deeds, but also in the form of a strong and loving family. Asia continued to live her life with enthusiasm, educating their children to become responsible individuals who would be beneficial to the community. Their children, Ali, Fatima, and Hassan, grew up with the determination to continue the legacy their father had left behind. They remained involved in mosque activities, religious education, and community service. Each of them strived to maintain good character, set an example for the younger generation, and always draw closer to Allah. Ali, now an adult, decided to continue his father's struggle in the field of law, but with a greater focus on social justice and human rights. Fatima, known for her caring nature, opened an educational institution that taught children the importance of religious and social values. Hassan, with the spirit inherited from his father, chose to continue his role at the mosque, teaching the Qur'an and Hadith to the younger generation. Although Asia was no longer with her husband, she felt that their love and devotion remained alive through their children. Every time she saw her 3 children behaving with noble character and continuously striving to benefit society, her heart was filled with gratitude. She knew that Muhammad had left behind a legacy greater than anything that could be measured by worldly wealth, a legacy embedded in the teachings, values, and life principles he instilled in their family. One day, several years after Muhammad's passing, Asia sat on the porch of their home, reminiscing about the journey of life she had shared with her husband. Though the feeling of longing still touched her heart, she felt at peace, knowing that their lives had been filled with meaning. They had built a family that not only functioned as a harmonious unit but also as a continuation of their mission and goodness. "I am grateful to Allah," Asia said in her prayer, "for granting us love, devotion, and true happiness in this life. May we always be given the strength to continue this journey and benefit the community." Asia continued her life with dedication. She knew that every step she took, every action she made, was part of the legacy they had built together, a legacy of love, faith, and devotion to Allah. Similarly, her children continued to live their lives with wisdom and compassion, making a positive impact on the community, and upholding the values that their father had instilled in them. The story of Muhammad and Asia ended in peace, but their legacy lived on, flowing through the actions and lives of their children, who would continue to spread goodness to the world, just as their parents had taught them.